Okay, we're going to balance one simple, easy chemical equation here, and then I've got another one that's apparently a little bit more difficult, at least looking, that will balance so you can have a refresher on how I do it. I also posted those Khan videos that you can watch from Khan Academy of style balancing equations. So I start out by writing down what elements I have on each side. And then I write down the number of each. So on the left hand side, I've got 1 iron. And on the right hand side, I have 1 iron. And on the left hand side, I have 2 chlorine. And I have 3 chlorine on the right hand side. So my iron's already balanced. So I need to balance my chlorine. On the left hand side, I have 2 in a diatomic molecule. On the right hand side, I've got 3. The first thing I recognize that I have to do is make the right hand side an even number, because I can't turn 2 into an odd number. The easiest way to do that is I'm going to multiply my chlorine by 2. So I'm going to put a 2 coefficient here. And that's also going to change my iron by 2. So now I have 2 iron and 6 chlorine. So when I look back at the left hand side, I see that I need to multiply my iron by 2 to get 2. And my chlorine, I need to get to 6, so I'm going to multiply it by 3 to get 6. And now my equation is balanced. This equation looks slightly more difficult. So I have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sodium, and chlorine on both sides of the equation. So carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sodium, chlorine. And I have 3 reactants on the left-hand side, 2 products, no molecules that are just a single atom by itself, so those are usually easier to adjust, but I don't have that option. So the first thing we need to do is figure out how many of each thing we have. So carbon, I have 5 here, and that's the only spot I have them on the left, and I have 5 here, which is the only spot I have it on the right. Hydrogen, I have 8 here, plus 1, plus 1. So I have a total of 10, but in 3 different spots. On the right hand side, I have 12 in 1 spot. Oxygen, I have 2 on the left hand side, and I have 2 on the right hand side. Sodium, I have 1 on the left hand side and 1 on the right hand side. And chlorine, I have 1 on the left hand side and I have 1 on the right hand side. So as we look at this, the only thing that we have that isn't already balanced is hydrogen. So we need to figure out where to adjust our hydrogen. Now, I don't want to have to adjust this molecule or this one if I don't have to, because when we adjust them, we change lots of other things. So I'm going to look at here, here to adjust my hydrogen, and when I do that, hopefully I don't have to change anything but this over here. So the first thing I need to do is figure out how to get to 12. Okay, so I've got 8 that I don't want to change right there. So I want to say, what can I add to 8 to get to 12? Well, I can add 3 and 1. I can add 4, but I can't do that because I've got 2 spots where I've got 1, or I can add 2 and 2. If I put a 2 here, that's also going to change my sodium times 2. And it changes this times 2, correct? So now I've got 8 plus 2 plus 1, so 11. I'm closer, but now my sodium's not balanced. So I'm going to go ahead and fix my sodium by putting a 2 here, which multiplies that by 2. Which also changes my chlorine. And as we see, my chlorine, when we change it by 2, we need to change this side by 2, which is going to give us another 2, which also changes our hydrogen by 2. And now we have 8 plus 2 plus 2 equals 12. So this equals 2, this equals 2, chlorine equals 2 on both sides. And even though it looks like it's a great big equation with lots of stuff happening, it was fairly simple to balance. We just needed to figure out how could we make our hydrogen get to 12. After you make the first step to do that, the rest of it comes together pretty quickly.